Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are going to talk about narration, which is really very important topic in grammar, especially for second language learners. So narration is basically from the word narrate. Narrate means to tell something. Sometime it will be an event, sometime any kind of thing. Sometime these are the word which are spoken by someone else and you are transmitting those words to the other person. That's why this is also called direct, indirect. Why does direct, indirect are related to narration? Mean there can be the two ways of narrating one thing or statement of someone. So if we are using the same words which were spoken by the person who we are quoting, then that would be the direct narration. We have not processed that information, we have just received that information, and similarly, the same information is passed through the third person. So, that is the direct narration. And sometimes we listen, we get the information from one person, and we deliver this information to the other person, but we deliver that version is interpreted one or not the direct or the similar words 100% those words which were spoken by the source or by the person who we are quoting. So in that case we have processed the information a little bit. So that's how the information is not the direct one, this is the indirect one. So let me explain you a little bit more about it. This is how we can say, if someone told me that he is ill, and when he has spoken, for example, one of my friends Ali, he told me that he is ill. So when he has spoken these words to me, he said, I am ill definitely. Then if I am using this information, he says or Ali says, I am ill. So and at this time I am quoting his own words, and these inverted commas are the indication in punctuation that these are the words of that particular person. So here I have directly quoted those words, so this main information has been submitted to the third person in the same way as it was delivered by the speaker. Now, this is the same information, but the way of narration is somehow different. Now I have interpreted that information and I am saying he says that he is ill. So now in this case, when he is saying that he is ill, when it is being spoken, so at this time I am giving his information, but this given information is not in the words of Ali. This given information is in my own words, so that's why I have said he is ill. So I have processed this information while the information was pure and directly coming towards the third person. Then this was I am ill and this remained I am ill, and when it was processed it has been made he is ill. So it's up to the person, the interlocutor who is conveying the message, which way of narration he would like to choose, whether he would like to send a direct message or an indirect one. Both are his own choice. So here in English grammar and composition we study this because we should know and we can interpret which one is the direct information or which one is the indirect information. And being the sender of the information, sometime We should know how we can give the information directly, and how, if we want to convert in an indirect way, how correctly we can convert in indirect way. Our native language is Urdu. So in Urdu, we are naturally tuned towards these things and we need not to change them. But in English, we have to learn them how, by using few rules, we can convert a direct narration, a direct information into indirect one. So for this purpose, we have to do many conversions in this information. So how we are going to make these conversions? There are the few rules to understand it. So when we try to make a direct sentence into an indirect, what we need to do first, the first principle I'd like to tell you, a basic rule is, there are two parts of speech of the direct narration. One is the reporting speech, mean he says, whatever is outside the inverted commas, that is the reporting speech, like he says. And whatever is in inverted commas, that is reported speech, that is word being reported. So this is reporting speech which is outside the inverted commas, and whatsoever information is inside the inverted commas, it means these are the words of that particular person who has spoken them. So now the basic rule is, for your convenience, if you are getting confused, you can make it simple. I have tried to make it simple for you. You can say whatever is outside the inverted commas. If you are confused between, sometimes students are confused between reporting and reported speech. Okay, fine. If you are getting confused, you need not to worry about reporting and reported speech. You should know the concept. So that's why you can say whatsoever is outside the commas, you can say that is speech 1, and whatever is inside the commas, we can assume them as speech 2. So the basic rule is, we need to make the changes in speech 2 and they are changed according to speech 1. So this is the basic major rule. We make the changes in this speech which we have assumed as speech 2, and we make these changes according to this speech 1. So as we have said, here the sentence is, he says I am ill. So he says, there is no change in he says, that's why I kept it in red. That he is ill, now I and am have been changed into he and is. So how they are changed in he is, they are changed according to this red speech 1. So how we need to change them, there are few rules that we need to adopt. So the first rule is, first of all, what we need to look in speech 2, in this speech, in inverted comma speech, first we need to find out all the pronouns. How many pronouns have been used, we have to mark those pronouns. Now in this speech we can find out there is only one pronoun, and that is I. Now how we can convert them, let's have a look at this slide. So if there is any first person, whether it is subjective case like I or we, objective case like me or us, or possessive case like my or our, these all will be changed according to the subject of speech 1. If there is a second person, you, your, or you as an object, they will be changed according to the object of speech 1. And then if there is a third person in speech 2, there will be no change in speech 2 pronoun wise. So let me explain all these things. This is the first rule. Now if there is first person in speech 2, how we can change it? Here we have a sentence, the same one, he says I am ill. it has been converted into he says that he is ill. Now, as I have pronounced earlier on, I is the first person, and this is the personal pronoun which we can find in speech too. Now, according to this rule, as we have told you earlier on, it will be changed according to the subject of speech 1. Here we can see this is the speech 2. Here we have I, the first person. So when there is the first person, it will be changed according to the subject of this speech. So here you is the subject, as you can see. Fine. Here you is the subject. So uh, in this changed version, this I has been turned into you according to the subject. And in the first sentence, we can see there is again the similar first person pronoun, but the subject of speech 1 is not you. Here it is he. So accordingly, it has been turned into he here because this first person has been converted like this according to the subject of speech 1. So if the subject is he, it will be converted into he. If the subject is you, it will be converted into you. So all the first person pronoun that we have discussed here, like I, we, me, us, my, or our, they will be changed according to the subject of speech 1. But their number and gender and case would remain same. If they are subjective case, they would remain in subjective case. If their gender is masculine, they will remain in masculine gender. If that is singular, it will remain singular. If it is plural, it will remain plural. But their personal pronoun category, just that would be determined by the subject. For example, if here is the third person, so then I will be converted into third person. If this sentence is like this one, we are ill, then this we is determined by third person, but here the number will remain same, then it will be converted into the third person, they are ill. That's what I'm talking about. So the number and gender will be determined by this one, and even the case, and this is subjective case, so that's why this one is also subjective case. But which person would be over there, that would be determined by the subject, mean he is the third person, so here we are using the plural of third person. Similarly, if we are writing here, he says that she okay, now the first person is in singular and plural. I am ill, it can be I am ill, or it can be we are ill. So in accordingly here we are having we are ill, the number and gender would remain the same. Hopefully you learned it now. So here even if we have if we are ill, so you, the plural of you is also you, then it would be you are ill. So this is the first rule, how we change personal pronoun. In first of all, we need to look for the personal pronouns in speech 2. If we find any second person in speech 2 like you or your, so here in this case we have the second person in speech 2. So now how it would be changed, as we have studied the rule, it will be changed according to the object of speech 1. Now here in this case, what is the object? Object is the third person. Now you has been converted into the third person he, because here we have third person as an object. So here if we have you say to me, then this will be converted into I. So I am ill. Am ill. Here you can understand the destiny of this second person is determined by the object of speech 1. So now hopefully you understand this case. Now I have another example where I have mixed up first person and second person, both of them. Now we have sentence, you say to him, I am your brother. Now in speech 2 we find two pronouns, this one I and this one your. These are personal pronouns. Now this I is the first person, as you know, and this a your is the possessive case of the second person. So the second person is determined by the object here, and the first person, as we have discussed in rule 1, is determined by the subject of this one. So accordingly we have converted you say to him that this I according to this you are, and this your according to the object his brother. Sorry to write it, his brother. So now you can see this rule has been applied here. But there is another case. If we have second person in speech 2, and definitely in speech 1 we always have a subject, but sometime in speech 1 we don't have a object. So if we don't have an object in speech 1, then how the fate of second person of speech 2 will be determined? So let's make it easier for you. Then if you is in the subjective case, that will directly be converted into first person I, your will be converted into my, and you if is in objective case, it will be converted into me. Like here I have done one example for you. He says you are ill. So basically you can make it you say he says. Now we don't have object here. Here I have omitted the object. We don't have the object here. So that was the case. How you will be converted when there is no object? Because we have studied the rule, if there is an object available in the speech 1, then we can convert it according to the object. Now this is a realistic case. He says there is no object available here. How we can convert it? So we have studied these rules. He says that I am ill. So in this case, this will be converted directly into I. Fine. So if you are getting confused with the objective case example, I'd like to write one for here. For example, they say I teach you. Now in this sentence, this you is objective case. Here this is subjective case. This is what the example I'd like to quote. Now as we know, we have to first look at the personal pronouns. So I is the personal pronoun and you is the personal pronoun in speech 2. So I will be converted according to the subject of speech 1. So it will be converted into they say that he. Now I is the singular person, so it will not be converted into they. That Its fate has been determined by this they, third person, but here it is the singular one, so that's why we are using the singular case. They say that he teaches. Now, according to he, we have used teaches. He teaches. Now, there is you. Now, this is the subjective case. He teaches me. So now this has been converted into me. So this is how the second person works if there is object available like this, and if there is no object available like this one. Hopefully you do understand it. Now, if there is a third possibility, there is a third person, if there is a third person in our speech 2, in case of the third person availability in speech 2, we need to make no changes. Here we can have he, she, it and they. This is the subjective case, his, her, its and their. Possessive case, him, her, it and them. Objective case, there will be no change in any of these cases if we find them in speech 2. So why we need to make no changes? We can see few examples here. For this one, mean you say he is ill. You say that he is ill. Now you can see here he is ill, and you can see here he is ill. So we have made no change if we find third person in speech 2. I say they are his brothers. I say that they are his brothers. So there are two pronouns, one and two. One is singular and one is plural, but both are the third persons. So we have made no changes here as well. If we have this sentence like this one, they say, I say they are your brothers. So we have studied the case here. Now we can find out your is the second person, and here we have no object. So we have learned here, if there is no object available, then what we are going to do, your will be converted into my. Then it would be like this one. I say that they are my brothers. So here we made no change in third person, but we have made the change in second person. Fine. So if this is again they are her brothers, third person, so then there will be no change. It will remain her. So this is about the change of the personal pronouns. What we have concluded now, if there are three possibilities in speech 2 as far as pronoun is concerned. So there are the three categories of personal pronoun: first, second and third person. If we have first person in the speech 2, it will be changed according to the subject of speech 1. If we have second person in speech 2, it will be converted according to the object of speech 1. And if there is no object, that will be converted into the first person. And the third possibility is, if we have third person in speech 2, we need not to make any change in speech 2 according to speech 1. Third person will remain same. So in this lecture, we have discussed about the changes of personal pronouns. In the next one, we are going to discuss about the changes in the tense. There are miscellaneous words like this is converted into that, these into converted into those. We will discuss these later on, but after this we are going to discuss the tense change. The first thing that we need to look in the speech 2 or in the reported speech, that is pronoun, and the second thing is the tense. So we are going to discuss about the tense in the next lecture. So far, try to learn, and if you have any queries, you let me know. Thank you very much for this lecture.